Hello there. This is the Action Figure Grader, and today's video is going to cover recent sales for the vintage collection. And I'm making this video maybe a little earlier than I'd prefer for this week, only because of my work schedule. It is a grind right now. I'm just trying to do the next right thing. So I thought I'd at least get this video done. Most of these are fairly common TVC that you'll see every week on eBay, but at least it'll give you an idea of what's selling right now in general. Yes, it's like last week, as we talked about, it's still very much a buyer's market. And we're going to start off with some foil Ultimate Galactic Hunt examples that Star Wars Galaxies had. It's a seller that's pretty prevalent on eBay for the vintage collection. This one had a little bit of card curl. BC-15, the Clone Trooper on that Ultimate Galactic Hunt foil cardback. That one sold for $57. One sold, 3 still available. And same seller also had VC-14, which is the Sand Trooper with the clean body. Obviously, there's VC-112 with the dirty paint apps, that dirty Sand Trooper. But this one is the less expensive of those two variants on the foil cardback, $57 for that one as well. 1 sold, 2 still available. And then the last foil I believe I've got for you is also from the same seller. This is the Magna Guard, obviously an unpunched Magna Guard. If you see one of those and it's a legit unpunched, grab it if it's a reasonable price, because graded examples for the VC-18 unpunched can go for a big number. $400 or more is what I've seen for unpunched and high grade. This Magna Guard on the foil back sold for $87. So that gives you some prices for some foil card backs in case you are looking. And this seller had both VC-13 variants for the name pill, the Anakin Skywalker name pill and the Darth Vader name pill. Obviously, you prefer to get them unpunched. The Anakin unpunched is tough to find. My buddy Chet is looking for one. If you have an unpunched VC-13 Anakin Skywalker for sale, send me an email, actionfiguregrader@gmail.com. My good buddy Chet is looking for one, so I want to try and help him out there. So reach out to me by email if you got one for sale, and I'll put you in touch with Chet. And then, again, so these were both punched, but it gives you both variants for $170. And that's about right, individually punched, punched, not unpunched. They go for $60 to $75 in that ballpark. So this was kind of right in line for both examples in really clean condition. I've got a few different Princess Leia Slave outfits that sold. First one is punched, and then the next one is unpunched. This is the Revenge of the Jedi retail release with the prototype FET offer. Again, punched. That one sold at an auction for $160.50 plus $15 shipping. So let's call that $175. You compare it to this one that was an unpunched example. Now, this one had the paperwork inside the blister. So this was the retail version, but it was missing the prototype FET sticker. And I always look like a close-up to see if the sticker has been removed. I've been told that it can be removed fairly easily. I've also heard from others that said they've tried and ruined their card, so I don't know. This one's got some dust on the card or smudges or something going on, but this one had some light edge wear to it, and still, despite those minor defects, it did sell for $260, Revenge of the Jedi, with the paperwork inside, so it was just missing the prototype FET offer sticker. Next up, Princess Leia in her Sandstorm outfit with the Darth Maul offer. This is obviously the deleted Blu-ray scene figure, and this unpunched example sold for $104 plus $8 shipping. And this seller had a number of really nice examples that sold for the most part at pretty fair prices. This was the VC-98 unpunched Grand Moff Tarkin. The pictures are not great, but just looking at him, it looks awfully clean. I don't see anything wrong with it. I just think he was probably, decided not to take it out of the star case. And the star case doesn't fit this particular item very well. It looks like it's made for like a 2-pack or something, but this one was listed for $150. The best offer accepted on that one was $120. So $120 for Grand Moff Tarkin. And again, that's at the upper end of the scale. Grand Moff Tarkin has come back down. We saw it last year around $175, but Really, the going rate for Grand Moff Tarkin right now is about 100 or so, but this one did sell at 120. Same seller also had this one that actually sold for above where it's been selling here lately, and that's the original issue VC-102 Ahsoka. Again, unpunched US card. That sold for $155. Somebody told me in the Facebook groups that they saw one sell for like $65 in an auction over in the UK. So that just shows you how far this one has fallen. But admittedly, this one looked pretty good. I mean, you could make an argument that the card's got a little curl there at the bottom, but that's nitpicking. Overall, it was pretty clean. I would just be worried about having it shipped inside this particular star case, since this is not the right size star case for TVC figures. Same seller also had a clone Commander Cody. This star case is the correct kind. That looks like the figure shield case, and that one sold for $120. And again, it was a punched example, obviously. Someone did tell me about a foil clone Commander Cody, which I'll probably cover in next week's video. It was a foil, but it was advertised as unpunched. And, you know, we all know that the foil Ultimate Galactic Hunts do not come unpunched. And it was very obvious when you looked at the back of the card that the punch had been added back in. So you never know what these eBay sellers are going to do. I'll cover it in another video because it does have some bids on it right now, but hopefully it doesn't go too high because someone's going to get ripped off. You know, as far as I know anyway, and you guys can correct me in the comments while you're hopefully leaving me a like. Have you guys ever seen a foil Ultimate Galactic Hunt that was unpunched? I personally have not, but, you know, that's what it's advertised as. So we'll see where it sells, but don't bid on it if it happens to still be running as this video airs. And again, the same seller also had this Stormtrooper. This is a Return of the Jedi Stormtrooper with the prototype FET offer sticker, and that one sold for $50. That's not a very expensive one, but I figured since I was covering this particular seller's items that I would at least show that one that sold. We also had another VC-115 Darth Vader Emperor's Wrath with the Lightning unpunched US card. Not perfect, but pretty darn good condition. It was listed for $109. The best offer accepted was $85. So $85 for that one. Not a bad deal at all for an unpunched Darth Vader Emperor's Wrath. This Ahsoka KE4N4. This is one I'm not familiar with. I don't know if this one came in like the U-Wing as a pack-in or if this was just sold as another wave. I don't know enough about this one. VC341. Nice looking droid though. Nice looking droid. Good color scheme on him. That one sold for $60, and this seller had two of those available. Both of those did sell at $60. Star Wars Galaxies, again, also had the original issue Salacious Crumb. I am shocked by this sales price. I did not think that this price would hold up very well after the release of the Jabba the Hutt action playset. And the, you know, I know it's not exactly the same. It's got a different TVC number, VC66A versus VC66. I still feel like this one in an auction probably would not sell at $900, okay? That's my personal opinion. I don't mean offense to any of you on this, okay? That's just my opinion that in an auction, I don't think it gets anywhere near this price. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with that. But I still think that there's a certain subset of collectors, yes, that are willing to overpay, and they're willing to complete their collection. They're willing to pay a premium for the first issue. But that subset of collectors is a lot smaller than the number of collectors that are on a budget, and they can't afford $900 for this item. So I don't know where this one would end up in an auction. It was a particularly nice looking example, if you ask me. I didn't really see much wrong with it. A little bit of card wave, but nothing bad. You know, if I had to throw a round number out, I would say 500. 500 max for Salacious Crumb. That's my guess. And again, I don't mean any offense if you happen to be the person that bought this at $900. I just don't think that with it being semi-reissued, if you want to call it that the old numbers hold weight anymore. The mouse droid, that's a different story. Okay, I could understand that. I could understand why that one remains pretty expensive. But me personally, I don't think I'd pay that kind of number for VC66. Some vehicles before we talk about a couple of graded items this week. This was a Y-Wing fighter that sold in an auction. The box was not perfect. You can see some obvious wear on the bottom there. And that held the price down, $110.50, typically with a near mint Chef's Kiss box. You're talking $150 to $175, but that one sold for $110. Now, it did have $55 shipping. Okay, so you're talking $165-ish after shipping before sales tax, which, you could make an argument that might be just a little bit high, quite honestly, given the box condition, but it is what it is. This, I thought, was a particularly good deal, assuming that the rest of the box looked as good as this one, okay? Now, I don't know for a fact that this one was factory sealed. It says brand new, unused, unopened, okay? And it says it's got the AI description, so it's not very helpful. It only had one photo for the Amazon ? Exclusive TIE Interceptor, but based on the one photo, it looks super mint. It was listed for $250. The best offer accepted was $150. What a deal, given what they typically go for, and I'll show you why. If you look at this one that just sold in an auction today, this one had obvious wear to the box on the bottom left and on the bottom right-hand corner. So this one was not perfect. It had a lot of wear to the box. And even in an auction, it still sold for $284 plus $26 shipping, so over $300 versus this one where this seller sold it for $150 on a make an offer situation. So I typically say, hey, wait for the auction, you're going to get a better deal. But that's not always the case, right? This was a buy it now or make an offer, and they lowballed them and they took it at $150. So that's the lowest price I've seen. Now, again, I'm only going on one photo here, but based on that one photo, that's a pretty good risk to take at $150. A Ghost update. Someone asked me in the comments about where's the Ghost selling, and this is on the upper end of the scale. So keep that in mind, all right? For a buy it now, this is the most recent sales price. $550 plus $50 shipping, which is $600 plus sales tax. That's a little high. Typically in an auction, they're going closer to $500, maybe $550 plus shipping. This one did sell at $600 though, just to give you an update on that. And then here's the new land speeder that's packed in with that super wide card Tatooine version of Luke Skywalker Farm Boy. And this is the new one. This seller had 4 available. One of them did sell for $80.99. So that gives you an idea of where these are reselling right now. I personally do like the card, although it is a pretty wide card, and I know a lot of you don't like that. I do think that is a nice looking card, and all the accessories look good. A couple of graded items that sold. This was an uncirculated 8.5 fan channel 2-pack exclusive of the Obi-Wan Kenobi Showdown. This one sold for $85. Again, it was only an 8.5, but that's another question I've got for you, is that you're seeing more and more 2-packs, whether they're fan channel exclusives or whatever, and if they're factory sealed, you can send that 2-pack in and get both of them uncirculated grading. And typically they do usually get a 9. Sometimes you get unlucky and get an 8.5 like this one got. But I just wonder if we'll see more and more of these, because you can get the uncirculated designation without having to send in a gigantic whole Hasbro shipping case. In this case, you're just sending in the 2-pack, like the 2-pack with Obi-Wan and Duel's End Darth Vader. I think it's the Duel's End Darth Vader. Or the the Sabine Wren with Chopper. So there's a lot of those 2-packs that are starting to come out, and I think you'll start to see more and more people submit those for uncirculated designated grading from AFA. But that one sold for $85, and then this Princess Leia remains expensive. It's a very expensive one in high grade. This one was an uncirculated 9.0, and it was listed for $170. The best offer accepted on that was $158 plus $11 shipping. So that one still remains pretty expensive. This one and the R2-D2 on the Star Wars racetrack, those two, even ungraded, can be pretty pricey on the secondary market. I hope you found this video helpful. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll be back soon.